Hi everyone, Jared here with Day Traders FX. We're getting a little bit of a late start on the daily video today, but fortunately the markets haven't really moved much, so we haven't really missed out on much. But we do have some good setups in the works, so let's have a look at what those are. Quickly here, we see that U.S. markets had a pretty kind of flat slash kind of down day. S&P was about +1, closed about +1. The Dow was down just a little bit. Oil's kind of in the lower ranges, and gold's actually up a little bit, even though it says it's down here. So that's going to be something to look at, and we're going to look at gold in just a moment here. But a couple of things to keep an eye out on there. As far as today, we had several announcements today. We'll have a little bit more Aussie news, and this is going to kind of get things going a little bit crazy. And this is in about an hour and 45 minutes. The monetary policy statement can be a bit of a mover, so keep an eye out on that for any of the Aussie trades that you may be in. Coming into tomorrow, we don't really have any significant news. We'll keep an eye on the markets and see if anything sets up. But we have the PPI during the UK session, and then employment numbers for Canada, which is actually can be a very big mover. So that's just going to be one thing to keep an eye out on there. Okay, so as far as the setups go, we did get a nice break on this euro dollar. This is a level I've talked about 100 times, 123.15, and you can see why it's important. The market has tested it and tested it several times. We had a little spike up above, but lots of testing on that 123.15, and then as soon as we got an open above that, it rallied like crazy, and then it's come back and just about tested it, and now it's back through it. So this is pretty bearish for the euro dollar. And it looks like our 124.40 was a big strong top, and we actually we had a sell trade at about 124.30 on here, and we got in short right up here and just rode this thing down, and could have obviously stayed in it for a very nice profit, but we did really good on this week. We've had some really great trades and some really nice setups, and this was one of them. And it looks like this is going to be a nice top for now, a nice little double top area, and the euro dollar is starting to look bearish. Now, a couple of scenarios that we have to work with. Number one, if we get above 123.15 again, if we get above this daily pivot, I want to see an open above this level, and if we get that, then I think we've got a good potential to rally up into the 123 50-ish area, somewhere in that general region. However, below 123.30, this is going to be my next target. Just our daily pivot down here, right around this 122.50-ish area is where I think the pair could be headed. Now, how are we going to get an entry on that? And that's always a good question. We do have a little bit of a trend line that's starting to break now on this 5-minute chart. You can see that there's definitely some stuff in the works there. Where the candles have tested this trend line several times over and over again, and it's just kind of sitting on that and riding that area. So I'll look for a little 5-minute breakout, and I think if we get something down here below this region, about 2290-ish area, that could turn this pair pretty bearish and give us some downward movement. So that'll be one thing to keep an eye on. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for an open above 123.15. So that's going to be really good to watch. Pound dollar, I've not really liked the pound dollar too much. It's been pretty choppy and pretty messy looking, so I'm not super excited about trading much here. However, this area right here, which is about 156.15-ish, an open below that might give us something worth trading. That's been a tough level to get past the last several hours, and yesterday and today and so on. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Look for a trend line break and some continuation down there. But overall, I don't really like the pound dollar that much. It's really getting choppy. Euro yen, on the other hand, is a little bit interesting, and it's starting to look a bit like the like the euro dollar. Although I'm just a little less inclined. If this gets above the daily pivot, it may be worth trading, but I don't know. I don't love that type of an entry. I think there's a lot of junk to get past here, including a trend line and a couple of things. So I don't know. This is not my favorite entry. There's a nice 1-hour pin bar, and it stayed above that, so it's slightly bullish still. But as you can see, we definitely have some on the shorter time frames here. You can definitely see a bit of a ascending trend line in the works, and you can see that we may be able to identify a breakout coming up here. And so I'll watch this breakout. I'll see if we get it. Keep an eye on the 5-minute setups on both of these pairs, but I think overall I don't know. I just may stay out of an open above this daily pivot, but I will be looking for a break of this trend line into 96.30, and then definitely a break of 96.30. If we get an open below that during the UK session or any time coming up, I think that potentially could be a very nice trade as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. The Aussie dollar, we've been sitting in the Aussie dollar for all the entire day, and it's just going a whole bunch of nowhere. So we just closed it out basically at our entry point. But now the Aussie dollar is starting to look interesting. We have news coming out, so we have to keep that in mind. 10600, very important level. An open above 10600 puts this Aussie dollar into big upward territory. However, an open below this area right here, which in the previous period was a daily pivot, now it's just an area where the 1 hour candles have struggled a whole bunch, and it's about 105. We could probably safely call it about 105.60. And this area, if we get an open below this area, I think we've got a nice chance to ride this down into the big support of 105.30, and get 25-30 pips out of it and potentially break and head further through that area, which I think once again we found probably a decent top on the Aussie dollar. So a break through that 105.60 should get us down into this area and hopefully beyond. So just keep an eye on that. And then last but not least, gold is trying to break, but it just doesn't seem to want to. Our pretty big resistance was about 16.15. It's kind of double topped here. You can see about this 16.18 area. Right around there is where the market has kind of continued to just struggle and not be able to get much beyond there. So that's once again about 16.18, and so beyond that we should see some rallying into 16.30. But if it stays below that, then I think things will continue to be somewhat bull or bearish, and we should see some nice continuation down and some runs into the 1600 and beyond. So kind of keep an eye on that. If we do get a very solid break of that 16.18, then watch for the Aussie dollar to start pushing through 106.100. But I just don't think we're going to get that. But we'll wait for the levels. We'll be ready for them. Again, trend lines on the euro yen and on the euro dollar, and looking for some of these setups to break and give us some movement. So be ready for that. Best of luck, and I'll have more details coming over Twitter and in the chat. Thanks a bunch, everyone.